Good morning, and I'm honored to stand up here once again for the annual State of the City address. And this important event that we co-host each year with the Santa Barbara Chamber of Commerce is a great opportunity to reflect on where we've been and where we're headed. As always, I want to thank the staff at the Chamber of Commerce for their work preparing for today. Before I get started, a very brief comment. Many of you know that I put out a proposal called Invest in Santa Barbara, asking the voters to consider some initiatives this November. I wanted to let you know up front that I will not be discussing the proposal this morning, as it is not part of our co-sponsorship with the Santa Barbara Chamber of Commerce, but certainly I can speak about it with you after the event if you're interested. If I could describe life at City Hall in one short phrase, it would be achieving consensus through healthy dialogue, community collaboration, civility, and teamwork. Last year, again, brought a number of challenges as the City Council strived to create policies and approve a budget that provided the programs and services our residents and visitors come to expect and deserve, while staying fiscally sound in tight economic times. There were a number of 7-0 unanimous votes on significant policies last year, something that is quite rare in the political arena these days, and something I think we should be proud of moving forward. This City Council remains committed to hearing diverse viewpoints, focusing on the facts, and moving towards positive solutions. 2011 also included a successful vote-by-mail election with 41% voter turnout. And with that, let me introduce you to this year's City Council. First, our newest council member, Kathy Murillo, Mayor Pro Tem Frank Hotchkiss, Councilmember Grant House, Councilmember Dale Francisco, Councilmember Bendy White, and Councilmember Randy Rouse. I also want to thank you. I also want to introduce our executive management team, and please stand as I call your names. City Administrator Jim Armstrong, City Attorney Steve Wiley, Assistant City Administrators Marcelo Lopez and Paul Casey, Airport Director Karen Ramsdell, Police Chief Cam Sanchez, Parks and Recreation Director Nancy Rapp, Library Director Irene Macias, Public Works Director Christine Anderson, Fire Chief Andy DeMizio, Finance Director Bob Samario, and our new Waterfront Director Scott Reedman. Thank you very much for all being here. These last few years, our collective focus has been a combination of meeting goals with less resources and jump-starting our local economy. Similar to many businesses and organizations, the city has had our fair share of revenue shortfalls and budget cutbacks. To support economic growth and vitality, the city's strategy has largely focused on providing the environment needed to help businesses flourish. We've maintained our focus on the big picture and improving community facilities and services by leveraging grants, low-cost bond financing, and federal economic stimulus funding. I can say that despite the recession, we finished several construction projects and achieved many goals. We've been active on other fronts as well. 7 cruise ships visited Santa Barbara last year, and I want to extend my appreciation and thanks to the downtown organization for organizing the hospitality tents to the thousands of passengers that came ashore to enjoy downtown shops, museums, and eateries, all without traffic congestion. These visits are part of a new breed of California cruise itineraries that begin in Los Angeles, then visit Santa Barbara, San Francisco, San Diego, and Ensenada. Approximately 1,800 passenger and 500 crew members disembark on each visit, and the cruise industry estimates that an average couple spends $200 per port. I also commend the Chamber and past board chair Michael Holliday in particular in his role leading the South Coast Business Forum, which is working on innovative ways to help new businesses get started in Santa Barbara. I'm particularly excited about the Synergy Business and Technology Center, a new business incubator project which is set to open in the Vercal building on Calle Cesar Chavez in a few weeks. Synergy will offer flexible, low-cost, collaborative workspace for entrepreneurs, startups, and businesses with big plans but small budgets. Santa Barbara's economic vitality hinges on many factors: our natural beauty and protection of our environmental resources, clean beaches and creeks, safe and accessible neighborhoods, community facilities and streets in good repair, a well-managed harbor and airport, a vibrant downtown with unique local shops and restaurants, clean streets, sidewalks, and pedestrian amenities, Those are the basics and essential to any city. One thing that sets Santa Barbara apart from others, however, is that this city is the cultural hub of the Central Coast. And Santa Barbara's cultural economy is a vital component in our economic recovery and future financial strength. And in so many ways, Santa Barbara, as a cultural destination, has taken center stage and deserves a spotlight this morning. The arts have played a critical role downtown for many years, and it's very exciting to see the recent positive growth throughout the community. We are a small city with grand venues and high-caliber performances, concerts, and art shows that would rival any larger metropolis. The relatively newly established Arts Collaborative has thrived, giving local artists a way to share ideas and resources, and many nonprofits and organizations are strongly connected with one another by working together at the Hutton Parker Foundation Santa Barbara Arts and Cultural Center, which is located on Sola and State Street. Keeping those connections strong and forging new ones is very important, and to that effect, City Hall can play a role. And I was honored last year to host 2 breakfast meetings, one with regional area museum directors and the other with local artists and small business owners, architects, and property owners to talk about the creative vibrancy and untapped potential in Santa Barbara's Funk Zone. Santa Barbara's cultural economy does not stop with the artists you see on stage. The professionals working behind the scenes as well, the so-called back-of-the-house type of jobs, are also responsible for many local positions and attracting visitors to the city. Painters and sculptors may first come to mind, but the arts industry also includes graphic designers, photographers, authors, film professionals, chefs, musicians, local craftspeople, and numerous employees working in museums, art galleries, and performing art companies throughout town. In recent years, the various art enterprises have collaborated to shape downtown and draw residents and visitors to the heart of the city. The partnerships between museums, restaurants, theaters, local galleries, film offerings, lectures, fashion, live performance venues strengthen our downtown core. And there are countless examples, from summer solstice and old Spanish days that have lasted generations to newer endeavors. Epicure Santa Barbara is now in its 3rd year of hosting cooking classes, wine tastings, and a culinary extravaganza throughout the month of October. UCSB's Arts and Lectures program has expanded from its campus with artists from around the world performing downtown and screening classic movies in the Courthouse Sunken Gardens in summertime. There's the Downtown Wine Festival, the Urban Wine Trail, the New Noise Music Festival. The list goes on and on. The city also invests heavily in arts organizations, providing $745,000 to the arts community last year alone. Beyond dollars, the city also offers free entertainment to the community year-round. The Downtown Library hosts events such as Santa Barbara Reads and Improv Theater for Families. And in the summer months, you can dance to one of the bands at the popular Concerts in the Park series or sit on Stearns Wharf and catch a movie under the stars. The economic impact from cultural events is significant. In January and February, the Santa Barbara International Film Festival provided a major boost to the local economy. With revenue from ticket sales and sponsorships, the festival estimates roughly $1.8 million returns into the local economy for various supplies, services, and employee salaries. And they estimate that the 2012 festival generated 70,000 trips to downtown movie theaters, with roughly 1/3 of those trips estimated to be from outside visitors, many of whom needing hotel accommodations. And of course, any trip to the movie theater is easily followed by spending at local restaurants and shops. The Santa Barbara County Arts Commission has estimated that event-related spending countywide is around $41 million, and that number doesn't even include the ticket cost. Another successful event is First Thursday. And in our first video, you'll learn how local businesses and artists are working together to bringing people downtown.
Santa Barbara has long been associated with the arts, and every first Thursday of the month, residents and visitors get a chance to experience that cultural vitality.
First Thursday was an idea conceived about 3.5 to 4 years ago, and the idea was, how can we animate the cultural arts district and really support those cultural organizations downtown?
Through this program, participating art galleries, shops, and restaurants feature a variety of art, music, food, and wine for the public to enjoy.
First Thursday really helps to draw a crowd to the downtown area, and it helps to bring visitors into Santa Barbara in general. And so by having people come downtown and take the tour amongst all of the galleries, not only are they seeing different retailers and cultural venues, but they're also getting to see what else is available as they go from one to another. So they get to see the restaurants that are here, they get to see other activities that they could do, maybe on a return visit. So ultimately, it just helps to spread awareness about the city and downtown specifically.
We have the best turnout for First Thursday. I mean, it has become such a significant thing for the public to come down. It becomes a social event. Let's meet at such and such place. We'll do the galleries, and then often people end up going out for drinks or for dinner afterwards.
Encouraging residents and visitors to experience the cultural vitality of the city's downtown has been a success for both attendees and businesses alike.
The First Thursday encourages visitors to arrive a day earlier. Many of our visitors do come up here for the weekend, Friday through Sunday, and the First Thursday celebration really encourages people to enjoy many of our cultural happenings on the Thursday evening.
This is something that goes all year long, every month, so it has a big following. A lot of people don't get downtown during the week, and then they're doing other things on the weekends, so this is a really nice way to introduce our store and what we have to potential new customers.
A recent study conducted by the Conference and Visitors Bureau was designed to identify what visitors are looking for when they visit Santa Barbara.
29% of the respondents said that they're interested in seeking information on arts and culture. So that's so important for our community and an opportunity for all of us to cross-market our cultural amenities as well as our other visitor experiences.
Take a walk along the downtown streets on any first Thursday of the month, and it's easy to see why the program has become such a success. And easy to get swept up in the art and culture that surrounds us every day.
And it's always different. It's a dynamic environment. Every month is different. If you miss one month, you have the opportunity to come the next month. But there's always something going on First Thursday, and it's an exciting time.
In past years, we've spent a lot of time discussing challenges facing our community, such as youth gang violence and homelessness and general budget cuts. While these issues haven't disappeared, I'm pleased that the city has taken great strides with many partners represented in the room today. And for a little change of pace this morning, I want to share 10 bright achievements from 2011. First, the general plan update. After 6 years of discussion and 140 community meetings, the Council unanimously adopted the general plan. This document will serve as our blueprint for the next 20 years, addressing residential density, growth management, circulation, open space, and transportation. I highly recommend you fly out of the Santa Barbara Airport on your next trip. A blend of modern airport amenities and Santa Barbara traditions, you can take in beautiful art from the terminal entrance to the time you board the plane. The last construction phase of creating a new short-term parking area and relocating and refurbishing the old terminal for office space is on track to be completed by the summer. Moving downtown, we've upgraded and retrofitted numerous public buildings to withstand an earthquake. Most recently, we finished seismic retrofits in parking lots 9 and 10, and across from Paseo Nuevo, parking lot 2 is currently closed with seismic work underway. The 100-year-old Carrillo Recreation Center celebrated a grand reopening last summer. And this project included refurbishments in the main ballroom, a new spring-loaded dance floor, and a new dance studio. Home to many dance and exercise classes, the Carrillo Recreation Center will continue to serve the community for decades to come. We've targeted the city's capital dollars to buildings most in need. In addition to seismic safety, all of these projects and numerous other facilities were upgraded to be universally accessible and draw less power from the grid. And as a result of energy retrofit work in parking structures, city offices, libraries, ball fields, and recreation centers, the city now saves over $400,000 on our annual electric bill. As you walk on State Street, you may be seeing fewer vacancy signs. Our downtown corridor has bounced back from a few years of empty storefronts. The number of vacant retail spaces in the downtown area is dropping, with only 2% of spaces vacant. This is a significant accomplishment and the envy of many cities in California. We are also witnessing the lowest crime rate in years. This is a chart of violent and property crimes, and you can see that with several highs and lows, the overall trend appears to be fairly low compared to the past 30 years. And violent crimes have reached the lowest point since 1986. After years of recruitment, training, and a council policy decision to overhire in anticipation of future retirements, the police department has reached the target staffing level of 141 sworn police officers. Full staffing has been a challenge to achieve with the approximately 18-month window to recruit an officer, complete rigorous background checks, attend the police academy, complete field training within the city, and then be ready to serve and protect us. The city also has very strict recruitment standards. So the last recruitment alone brought in 1,701 applicants, which were then reduced down to 412 that showed up for physical and written exams. 142 of them passed those tests, and then only 8 passed the full background check, and that's before sending them to the police academy. With full staffing, the beat coordinators are back, covering the east side, west side, and downtown. Beat coordinators patrol specific neighborhoods and work with community members to resolve problems. The restorative policing program continues to help the chronically homeless individuals achieve self-sufficiency. The expanded program in the downtown, waterfront, and Milpas corridors is in full swing and very successful, with 2 full-time sworn officers, 6 part-time community services liaisons, and 3 part-time restorative outreach specialists, working as a team with business owners, social service agencies, and homeless shelter providers. In 2011, the restorative policing team reunited 39 clients with family, friends, or support groups. To help people take the next step towards self-sufficiency, they assisted 111 clients to enter detox, housing, or work programs and visited them often to ensure their success. In the last month alone, we placed 12 homeless clients in these services. And these individuals were responsible for hundreds of service calls to the police department. Graffiti poses another challenge for us, but a creative solution has emerged from the Santa Barbara Arts Alliance, an art-based mentoring program for low-income youth. The youth recently painted a mural at Bonet Park on the exterior and interior of the restroom walls. The goal is beautifying the neighborhood and deterring graffiti vandalism. This location was once vandalized on a weekly basis, annually costing the city hundreds of dollars to clean. Other murals are located at the Westside Community Center, Westside Boys and Girls Club, Ortega Park, and Eastside Park, and the next mural is planned for the Eastside Library. The city continues to keep focus on preventing youth gang violence. Through client-specific case management services and the efforts of the South Coast Task Force on Youth Gangs, we've seen significant improvements. In 2011, 41% of the youth who were credit deficient became credit compliant after receiving these services. In addition, 76% of all seniors who received these services graduated high school. A new youth and drop center at the Franklin Center provides activities for children in the East Side neighborhood. And open on weekdays, the center gives youth a safe alternative to hanging out on the streets after school. Throughout the city, we've steadily filled in sidewalks and installed 115 new access ramps to help people of all abilities cross the street without harm. We also completed the Jake Boycell multi-purpose pathway that provides an off-street path for cyclists and pedestrians, a much safer alternative to the Calle Real near Highway 154, especially for students traveling to nearby schools. And along the waterfront, we completed a multi-year project to improve sidewalks and landscaping along Cabrillo Boulevard, with the last leg now finished between Milpas Street and the Cabrillo Arts Center. The new promenade allows easy access to the city's waterfront for residents and visitors alike. Nearby, we responded to Mesa residents who approached Council with the desire to create a safer Cliff Drive. Through another unanimous 7-0 vote of the City Council, Cliff Drive, also known as State Route 225, was resurfaced and restriped between City College's West Campus entrance and Meigs Road. By completing this work, Caltrans, who maintains control of all state highways, extended the life of the highway and adjusted what used to be a 4-car lane road to 2-car lanes with a new center turning lane and new bike lanes in each direction. Also along Cliff Drive, the large overhead utilities from Meigs Road to Mesa Lane have disappeared and have been replaced by new street lighting. In the area of disaster preparation, Santa Barbara was designated a tsunami-ready city by the National Weather Service. Over 50 signs were installed at the intersections throughout potential inundation areas, indicating when you are in, entering, or leaving an area with potential for flooding from a tsunami. Special thanks to the Chamber and waterfront businesses that worked with city staff on the placement of signs and evacuation strategy. I also want to recognize the efforts of the Santa Barbara Sister City Committee. Their fundraising efforts resulted in over $40,000 in aid to Toba, our sister city hit by the tsunami in Japan last year. I had the privilege of joining a Santa Barbara contingent to Toba last November, where we delivered the final check to Toba Mayor Kita during a very special 45th anniversary Sister City celebration dinner. While in Toba, we met fishermen and other business owners who described the immense damage to their pearl and oyster beds and saw firsthand their strong recovery. Moving now from the city's past achievements to today's projects, our city is busy on all fronts. And here's a list of 10 projects we're excited to see moving forward. At the Cater Water Treatment Plant on San Roque Road, we're introducing ozonation equipment to treat the water. And in our next video, you'll learn what ozonation is and how better tasting water is in the works.
The City of Santa Barbara's Cater Water Treatment Plant has been pumping drinking water to the South Coast for over 55 years. A new project is bringing its technology up to a whole new level for years to come by adding an advanced stage of treatment.
Ozonation is treating the water with ozone, which is O3. Oxygen is O2, ozone is O3. And what it does is it helps us sort of precondition the water to make the naturally occurring organic materials in there settle out more easily.
This treatment project was long in the planning through lots of pilot testing to determine a long-term solution for a rule that's coming into effect at the end of this year, the Stage 2 disinfection byproduct rule.
By doing this before the drinking water goes through the normal treatment process, there are less organic materials for chemicals to attach to. This means less chemicals from the treatment process ultimately end up in our drinking water.
Historically, we've never had any problems meeting regulations for disinfection byproducts, but this treatment process will make sure that we continue to be compliant and, in fact, are compliant with upcoming and more restrictive regulations.
The ultimate long-term benefits of this project will be water that is compliant with the Stage 2 disinfection byproduct rule, has less disinfection byproducts in it, therefore is safer, a little healthier, and actually ozone should have the side benefit of improving the taste of the water as well coming out of people's taps. The goal is to remove as much as we can.
Because of staff efforts to plan ahead for the upcoming regulation changes, they were able to secure low-interest loan funding for the project. This allows them to complete the project without placing the financial burden on water customers.
Through our long-term planning and planning to do this project, we've really been trying to mitigate the impact to ratepayers and business ratepayers.
For residents and visitors, the water that flows from taps will be cleaner without them even knowing this advanced treatment process is in place. And that's something we can all drink to.
Also in the pipeline, the West Downtown neighborhood will benefit from better street lighting. The first phase of street lighting is being installed through April, and with the loss of the redevelopment agency, we'll need to identify funds for the second and third phases. The project involves special utility installation techniques that eliminate the need for open trenches and reduce noise impacts and traffic disruption in the neighborhood. And I want to thank the community's patience and cooperation during the construction. You'll also see better lighting at Shoreline Park. During the winter storms in 2008, part of the bluff disappeared. And the project that gets underway this spring is using State Coastal Resources grant funds. Improvement includes replacing the walkways and fencing, installing new lights, landscaping and benches, and replacing the interpretive signage along the walkway. To meet 21st century demands and satisfying growing numbers of library patrons, a remodel of the Central Library is now in the planning stages. The well-loved Children's Library will be upgraded and expanded with more space, computers, seating, and shelving for the thousands of local families who come in each year. Spearheaded by the Junior League and the Friends of the Library, we now have a master plan and completed the preliminary design work. And stay tuned for a fundraising campaign to give this historic building a much-needed overhaul. Another capital campaign getting underway is for the new Vic. The new Vic will become the permanent home of the Ensemble Theater Company. With the support of several community philanthropists, including a $1 million grant from the Redevelopment Agency, the project involves renovating the 80-year-old Victoria Hall into a modern, intimate, 300-seat theater. Planning and construction is on track to open new shows in time for the fall 2013 season. And this project will complete the long-standing vision of creating the Cultural Arts District with multiple venues to meet a myriad of performances. Across the street, where the Vons Market used to be, construction for the new Alma de Pueblo will begin in April. This is a new mixed-use project that includes a public market for local food purveyors and artisans. The 101 Improvement Project from Milpas to Hot Springs is moving along on schedule, with its completion due in late spring. Thanks to an idea from the Montecito Association, working in partnership with Caltrans and SBCAG, the city slightly amended the coastal development permit to include a third northbound lane at Salinas Street. Approving this amendment resulted in obtaining an additional $2 million in state funds and provided increased traffic flow through this congested area. And after over 3 years of construction, I again want to thank the residents and businesses around Milpas Street and along Coast Village Road for their patience. Cottage Hospital reached a major milestone last month with the completion of 3 patient pavilions. Moving patients from the original facility to the state-of-the-art hospital wing involved 13,000 hours of transition planning for medical staff. There are still 5 years of construction remaining to upgrade the inpatient care facilities and build another patient pavilion, at a total estimated cost for the entire project of more than $700 million. At the former St. Francis Hospital site, Bella Riviera condos are now finishing construction in stages this year. 70% of the project will provide essential workforce housing for Cottage Health System employees, with the other 30% market rate homes now selling to the general public. Nearby, the El Encanto is finishing up construction with a planned opening in late 2012. Owned by the Orient Express Company, the El Encanto has been widely promoted as the newest addition to their luxury hotel portfolio. Local homeowners now have an opportunity to become more energy efficient by upgrading lighting, windows, insulation, and heating and cooling equipment. We're working with the county to promote their Empower SBC program that will combine low-cost loans with utility rebates to make energy efficiency more affordable. And I encourage you to take advantage of the program if you're planning a home improvement project that will lower your electric bill. The last project I want to highlight is the Mission Creek Flood Control Project that involves widening the creek channel to reduce flooding during storm events. Together with the County Flood Control District, we've been actively lobbying the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for federal funds for construction. In this next video, you'll see that we've made significant progress to improve water flow and seismic safety.
The West Downtown has been bustling with construction equipment lately. That's because 2 Mission Creek Bridge replacement projects, long in the making, have progressed rapidly over the past year. Most of the bridges along Lower Mission Creek date back to the early 1900s, but are now deemed deficient by the California Department of Transportation. In order to meet current structural and earthquake safety standards, the bridges are being replaced with new, longer structures.
The Highway Bridge Program is the primary source of the funding for our bridge replacement projects in the city and on the Lower Mission Creek. So the city has a limited amount of match. On some of the bridge projects, the federal government is actually contributing 100% of right-of-way acquisition phases and construction phases. This is the example of the Mason Street Bridge. So our city cost for the Mason Street Bridge will only be in the hundreds of thousands for that near $11 million project.
With much of the replacements paid for by federal funding, the city is taking the opportunity to address another major concern related to Lower Mission Creek: flooding. Mission Creek runs through the heart of Santa Barbara's downtown. As the city grew around the creek, serious flooding has occurred.
The Lower Mission Creek has had a history of flooding over many, many years. And it wasn't until about the 90s that we were able to reach a community consensus along with the Army Corps of Engineers and the County Flood Control District in the city to develop the project that we have been able to begin construction on.
To lessen future flood risk, the city is widening the creek bed during the bridge replacement process.
The Lower Mission Creek Flood Control Project runs from Canon Perdido to the ocean and consists of widening the Lower Mission Creek channel and increasing the flood conveyance capacity.
The first of the replacements to be completed, the Haley de la Vina Bridge, opened to great reviews in the spring of 2011, and the Ortega Street Bridge opened last month ahead of schedule and on budget. Over the next 5 years, the 6 other bridge projects will attempt to duplicate that success. The bridges slated to be replaced are Cabrillo Boulevard Bridge, Chapala Yananali Bridge, Mason Street Bridge, Coda Street Bridge, Gutierrez Street Bridge, and De La Guerra Street Bridge. In the end, these bridge replacement projects are a shining example of a variety of city departments and divisions, from public works to creeks to parks and recreation, working together to create safer, healthier, and more enjoyable neighborhoods for residents.
And again, I want to thank the residents in that area for their patience during the construction. And as you can see, this past year has been full of achievements and works in progress. And as we now transition from past works to today's snapshots on city finances, I'd like to invite our City Administrator, Jim Armstrong, to the podium and give us some additional information. Jim.
Thank you, Mayor Schneider. I want to add one more achievement to the Mayor's list, and it's one of which I feel especially proud. We maintain the city's healthy financial condition despite the difficult economic times. In fact, despite the precipitous drop in revenues due to the severe recession, we have ended up in the black the last 2 years, and we have made the necessary adjustments to keep our city's finances stable. That does not mean we don't have significant challenges ahead, but it does mean we are living within our means and we are not deficit financing as so many other government agencies are doing in these times. Now let me get into some of the numbers. The city's overall budget for the current fiscal year is $253 million. As you can see on the pie chart, the smallest portion of the budget, at 23%, is in the special revenue funds category. This means simply that the monies collected have to be used for a specific purpose. An example is the Creeks Fund, which was created after the voters approved a 2% increase of the bed tax, and it can only be used for restoring creeks and beach quality. The second largest portion of the city's budget is for our enterprise operations, such as water, wastewater, the airport, waterfront, and downtown parking. These functions are primarily supported through user fees, and like with the restricted funds, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them because they are well managed and have weathered the last 4 years very well. The largest portion of that total is the city's general fund, which supports traditional government services such as police, fire, parks and recreation, libraries, and community development. This is the part of the city's budget that has been most impacted by the economy, and I'll talk about it in some depth. For example, in the year before the downturn began, the city received $20.5 million a year in sales taxes. In the course of 2 years, we saw that amount tumble by nearly 20% to $16.7 million. Our bed tax revenues also were hit hard by the recession. In 2008, our bed tax receipts totaled $12.9 million. At the depth of the recession, that amount fell by 13% to $11.5 million. Because of these revenue declines, the city organization was required to make major changes in the way we do business, and do so in an expeditious manner. As a result, we cut expenses in our general fund from $106 million in fiscal year 2009 to only $98 million last year. That's a cut of $8 million. We achieved these savings by substantially reducing the size of the workforce, eliminating nearly 80 full-time positions. We also eliminated the equivalent of another 21 full-time positions in part-time hours, primarily in the library and in parks and recreation. In addition to reducing the size of the organization, we also approached our managers and 6 labor unions and asked them to work with us by accepting pay furloughs, benefit cuts, and in some cases asking them to pay more towards their retirement. Management led by example, taking the largest cuts. All of the labor unions also participated in these concessions, and as a result, we were able to save $3 million last year through reduced labor and benefit cost. These concessions allowed us to avoid deeper cuts that would have resulted in greater impacts on services to the public. I think it's important to point out that these cuts did not come without major reductions in services. For example, parks maintenance has been substantially reduced, resulting in lawns being trimmed less frequently, weeds being allowed to grow in parks and median islands, and deferred maintenance to park restrooms, community centers, and playground equipment. We also made significant reductions at our 2 libraries, resulting in library closures on Monday, less book purchases, and reductions to youth programs and reference information. On the flip side, the city did take advantage of this financial crisis to become a more streamlined organization. We found better ways to use technology, eliminate red tape, and raise productivity. Not only are we working smarter, but we're also working harder to preserve service levels. I'm very proud of the way in which our organization has pulled together during such a difficult time. There's been a real sense of teamwork, and I continue to be impressed with the strong dedication and commitment most of our employees have to Santa Barbara and to public service. As we look towards the future, we're starting to see some very positive trends in a couple of our key revenue sources. For example, sales tax growth has been especially healthy, with 3 quarters of very strong growth of 11%, 8%, and I just learned on Friday we had a 9% growth rate in the most recent quarter. We've also seen strong growth in the visitor sector, with bed tax up nearly 10% halfway through this fiscal year. Although other major revenue sources such as property and utility taxes continue to be relatively flat, our predictions for next fiscal year, which begins on July 1st, are that we'll be able to balance the budget without any additional service reductions or use of reserves. Although we believe we can balance the city's budget next year, we're facing several long-term financial challenges that I would like to briefly comment upon. The first area I'd like to discuss is our state government's financial situation. I cannot emphasize how serious a problem we're facing at the state level. The state constitution requires that every year the state balance its budget. However, over the past decade, the state legislature has enacted a series of accounting gimmicks, short-term borrowing, and unrealistic revenue estimates that have resulted in 10 years of deficit spending. I've been working on government budgets my entire career, and to tell you the truth, it's not all that complicated. If expenses exceed revenues, you have a deficit. You can either solve the deficit by cutting expenses, raising revenues, or some combination of the two. However, it takes political courage to make these tough decisions. And unfortunately, at the state level, it has been easier to avoid the tough decisions and just hope things get better. In contrast, our City Council has made the tough decisions over the past few years. It's not been easy and without controversy, but the result is that our city remains in good financial condition and we're living within our means. Meanwhile, the state is unable to even pay its bills on time. Although I give Governor Brown some credit for starting to deal with the issue honestly, state government has a long ways to go towards restoring financial order. This uncertainty is impacting all levels of government in our state, making long-term planning virtually impossible. In my mind, it's a disgrace that one of the wealthiest states in our country can't figure out a way to balance their budget. Until this issue is resolved, the state will be unable to tackle many of the critical issues we face in the future. One of the results of the state's chronic financial dysfunction are the recent laws approved by the state legislature and sustained by the California Supreme Court to eliminate over 400 redevelopment agencies. This legislation was adopted as a way to get around the state constitution and take local property taxes to help balance the state budget. It will result in a loss of the most effective tool that local government has had over the past 40 years to deal with urban slums and blight. In our city, the elimination of the redevelopment agency 3 years before its scheduled end represents a potential loss of over $50 million that we were planning to use to repair or replace critical buildings such as the 50-year-old police building on Figueroa Street and the Cabrillo Bathhouse at East Beach. At this point, we're scrambling to figure out how the mechanics of this law will work and what the total loss will be. Once we're able to assess the full extent of the loss, city staff will work with the City Council to identify other sources of funding to try and get these projects back on track. It will not be easy. The last long-term financial challenge I want to discuss is public employee pensions, which, as you know, continue to receive a lot of coverage in the news media. Our city is a member of the California Public Employees Retirement System, also known as PERS. The system is the largest public pension system in the country with approximately $236 billion in assets. For most outside accounts, the state system has been well run and has invested wisely. However, it also faces a large unfunded liability for the commitments made to current and future retirees. The City of Santa Barbara, according to the most recent PERS actuarial data as of June 2010, has $433 million in our account with PERS, and we have accrued liabilities of approximately $700 million. What that means is our current accounts have an unfunded liability of $267 million. Last year, we paid $19.4 million to PERS as a part of our legally mandated payments. In rough terms, this means that for every dollar of salary we pay to our employees, we send about 27 cents to PERS to cover their pension obligations. For public safety employees, the amount is substantially higher, and for our other employees, it's a bit lower. Because of the unfunded liability we have with PERS and their poor investment returns since 2008, we expect our contributions to remain high and likely rise in the future. I try to avoid using terms like unsustainable or predicting that our pension obligations will bankrupt our city. This is simply not true. I fully expect PERS will continue to serve its members into the future, and we will be able to make our payments to PERS. However, it's clear to me from all the projections I have seen that the cost of pensions will continue to eat up more and more of our overall budget over the next few years. The fundamental question to me is not whether PERS obligations will bankrupt the city, but instead what level of pension benefits do we need to provide in order to attract and retain qualified and talented employees for some very difficult and technical work? And what is a reasonable cost for the taxpayers to bear? What I'm hearing loud and clear from the public is that the current benefits are out of line compared with the private sector and need to be reduced. And all employees will need to contribute in a meaningful way towards the cost of the benefits they receive. Reforming our pension system needs to be done in the context of the state's labor relations laws and through negotiations with our 6 employee organizations. It will not be easy, and it will require political courage by the City Council. However, I know this is an area the Council wants to take on, and I'm confident we can make real progress in the next couple of years in negotiations with our labor unions. In closing, I'm very proud of the way our city organizations weathered the past 4 years. We jumped on the problem early, and in cooperation with the City Council, the community, many volunteer advisory boards, employees, and labor organizations, we were able to reduce our expenditures to be in line with revenues. I especially want to thank our very talented department heads and their key managers who did a wonderful job of managing our organization through the past few years. In my mind, this collaborative approach is the model that other organizations can use as we attack the tough issues ahead. And with that, I'll turn the podium back over to Mayor Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. The loss of the redevelopment agency will be a major challenge for the future of the downtown and waterfront and to future affordable housing projects throughout the city. There are many projects in the design phase planned for completion with redevelopment agency funds. And Jim mentioned the remodel of the police station and the Cabrillo bathhouse. Other projects that will be affected includes moving the city's 911 dispatch center out of the police station and into a new office in the Granada Garage, the remodel of the Library Plaza and De La Guerra Plaza, and the renovation of the Cabrillo ball field. Redevelopment funding was also slated to fund sidewalk improvements on Lower Milpas Street. The sum total price tags of these projects is $97 million, leaving the City Council to now choose how to prioritize these costs with other general fund programs and services, or find a new revenue source to cover those expenses, or cut funding for some or all of these projects altogether. Another area significantly impacted by the loss of redevelopment funding is affordable housing. This funding source has leveraged the development of numerous housing projects to benefit formerly homeless people, low-income individuals, seniors, and youth transitioning out of the foster care system. And stepping back from redevelopment, there's also other significant infrastructure needs outside the downtown and waterfront areas. We estimate that there are approximately $441 million worth of capital improvement needs throughout the city, and we currently lack the funding for at least $145 million of that amount. These projects include aging parks and recreation facilities, street repairs, and various transportation projects. So, while we're certainly pleased to see the economy starting to turn around, the City Council has much work to do in keeping municipal services running smoothly and efficiently and figuring out how to fund our significant capital needs. And as always, your comments, feedback, and participation in our local government is most welcome. In fact, as I've had this morning been able to share our recent achievements and upcoming projects, I want to acknowledge that it's all made possible with public input and participation. As the Greek proverb says, a civilization flourishes when people plant trees under which they will never sit. Extensive community involvement has made every part of our city beloved to residents and a beacon for visitors. To provide a broad array of programs and services, the city relies on help from countless volunteers. And if you have an interest in playing a larger role in Santa Barbara, we've assembled a list of the big and small ways you can contribute. First, you can volunteer your time with any of our youth recreation programs. From youth sports to summer day camps, you can be a positive role model to participating youth. After-school programs are provided either at low cost or for free, and volunteer support is critical to provide the safe activities for children. You can help them with homework assistance, crafts, clubs, field trips, or coaching and refereeing sports leagues. Throughout the year, you can get involved in any of the city-hosted cleanup events for creeks, beaches, and specific neighborhoods. Each year, we honor residents and businesses for their commitment to keep Santa Barbara looking good at the Spirit of Service Awards. We even conduct an event called Operation Clean Sweep at the harbor, so you can put your scuba gear to good use and help us remove litter from the sea floor. There are plenty of volunteer opportunities if you have a green thumb. You can join the park staff to prune rose bushes or adopt a landscape bed in your own neighborhood park. Our public libraries rely heavily on volunteers, serving as adult literacy tutors and computer coaches. They read books to children, repair and shelve library materials, photograph library programs, and help with special events. And during the last year, volunteer service at the libraries was valued at over $450,000. One quick skill that won't take up too much time but that might save a life is hands-only CPR. Studies have shown that people in cardiac arrest have a greater chance of survival if chest compressions are quickly initiated after calling 911 rather than waiting until the paramedics arrive. And we're offering free training sessions to the community, and we decided to make it easy for everyone here today. On your way out, fire crews have set up stations in the lobby so you can see a quick 5-minute demonstration and ask questions. If you're ready for something more advanced, you can sign up for CERT training and learn practical skills to cope with the aftermath of a disaster. Following a major disaster, first responders will not be able to meet the demand for these services, so people will have to rely on each other to meet their immediate needs. Beyond basic home survival, we want to train more people on basic medical and triage techniques, light search and rescue, and disaster psychology. The next CERT course is offered in April and will benefit anyone who takes it. Many of you have a lot of Santa Barbara knowledge that can be put to use. You may be interested in joining the Airport Ambassador Program to help out-of-town visitors enjoy their travel experience in Santa Barbara. Airport ambassadors answer questions regarding the terminal and the construction project, give directions, call for wheelchairs, round up luggage carts, and generally assist travelers in whatever way they can. If volunteer service doesn't grab you, how about helping us raise funds to restore the Chromatic Gate? Let's face it, this iconic public art piece needs some serious TLC. And we need to find a way to restore it and create a fund so that it does not return to this state of disrepair. And I'm thrilled to announce that last week we received a commitment to match dollar for dollar any community gifts up to $10,000. So anyone interested in helping this cause should contact the Santa Barbara County Arts Commission. One of the best ways to stay engaged in city affairs is directly tuning into our news feeds. There's a service on our website where you can sign up to receive email alerts and various newsletters on city services. We're also excited to introduce a new electronic newsletter, the City News in Brief, where you can receive project updates and learn about what's happening that week. On your tables, you'll find cards that you can fill out or quickly scan in your smartphone to sign up directly. You can drop the cards off at the information booth in the lobby. Some of you may want to go further to give us at City Hall more formal direction. And if you have the time and passion for a specific area, I highly encourage you to consider joining one of the city's 22 boards and commissions. Whether it's about planning and design, parks, recreation, library programs and services, public safety, creeks restoration, human services, or even parking, you can join over 200 volunteers who serve on city advisory boards and commissions. Then the next recruitment begins next month. Our newest advisory group, the Neighborhood Advisory Council, is about to celebrate its first year. And in this last video, you'll learn how this group is quickly becoming a vehicle to resolve neighborhood issues.
So, are there any announcements?
The city of Santa Barbara has a long history of community involvement. With the significant focus both the city and the community has placed on its neighborhoods, the City Council created a new advisory group, the Neighborhood Advisory Council. By creating the new Neighborhood Advisory Council, the city looks to more efficiently provide valuable services for underserved youth and families and improve connections with neighborhoods to facilitate improvements.
The Neighborhood Advisory Council is a forum for residents to come and express issues or concerns that they may have in their neighborhoods. They are also there to do outreach in the neighborhoods and talk to their neighbors and find out what's going on. Is it graffiti they're having problems with, or litter, or street lights out, or trees needing to be trimmed, and how can we best find solutions to those issues?
What we're finding is that in certain parts of the city of Santa Barbara, there are some neighborhoods where families live who don't necessarily speak out about certain issues that bother them. They just accept it the way it is, and they're not stepping forward and calling the city areas and saying, you know, this is what's going on.
The council is comprised of residents that represent the West Side, Lower West Side, West Downtown, Laguna, East Side, and Lower East Side neighborhoods. The Neighborhood Advisory Council provides guidance and operation assistance to the city in a variety of areas. Issues related to gang activity, neighborhood cleanup efforts, pedestrian improvements, social and capital program needs, along with other interests and needs of the community, are all addressed by the Neighborhood Advisory Council.
They have tackled some really important issues and discussions like the gang injunction and bringing more information to residents about what the gang injunction is about. Capital projects that they would like to see done in their neighborhoods, whether it's sidewalk infill or curb cuts or street lights or improvements to community centers.
The Neighborhood Advisory Council, which celebrates its one-year anniversary this spring, provides a direct connection to the community for city staff.
We are hearing from the neighbors, we're seeing the neighbors, so that we can help them and help the city too to come up with solutions.
The council is already playing a role in changes that will be made along Milpas Street to make it safer for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. Having safe, welcoming communities creates a better environment for everyone to enjoy.
It's really a great way for us to have neighborhood pride, work with businesses, schools, whoever it may be, nonprofits, so that we can all find solutions together.
Around the room, I see leaders from local businesses, schools, healthcare, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies. And looking back on my 2 years as your mayor and reflecting on the year ahead, I see all of us slowly emerging from the recession, creating stronger partnerships and being more aware of reaching our full potential as a community. We are now more prepared and capable of addressing the challenges ahead. We made good investments with redevelopment agency money to build vibrant downtown and waterfront areas and ensure the safety of public buildings. Our city government is smaller and more efficient in many ways, and we continue to find innovative solutions to our fiscal challenges. Our employees continue to dedicate their time, energy, and talent to keep our city safe, clean, and beautiful. My colleagues and I continue to connect with you and all of our constituents, finding ways together that will continue our positive path forward, both on the dais and in the community. To the best of our ability, we use the resources available to us to create an environment for businesses to succeed, and I'm looking forward to the new innovative ideas and projects that are on the horizon. From protecting the environment to supporting public art and the cultural economy to building and renovating vital community facilities, we've employed numerous strategies for our local economy to prosper. The state of the city continues to be strong. We have turned a corner, and even with significant challenges still awaiting us, there is hope for a bright future. Thank you very much.